On your knees now! Officer Brady's command silences the school parking lot. Tanya Williams, in her executive suit, drops to the burning pavement. Parents freeze, phones raised. Brady grinds his boot into her spilled purse, crushing her pharmaceutical ID badge. "Found your little operation," he announces, lifting her medication samples for all to see. "Those are FDA-approved samples. I'm a pharmaceutical executive," Tanya says, voice steady despite tears. "Right, and I'm the Surgeon General." Brady yanks her arms behind her back. "Dealing at a school? That's low. Children watch. Phones record." Tanya's eyes harden with something beyond humiliation. What these officers don't realize is they've just made the biggest mistake of their careers. 30 minutes earlier, Tanya Williams pulls her new Mercedes SUV into Westlake Academy's pickup line. The 34-year-old pharmaceutical executive checks her reflection in the mirror-tailored navy suit, pearl earrings, hair in a professional updo. Perfect for both today's FDA presentation and school pickup. Principal Garcia greets parents with handshakes and smiles, but gives Tanya a cold nod. Tanya notices, swallows the familiar sting, and forces a smile anyway. Near the school entrance, Officers Brady and Reynolds monitor the traffic flow. Brady, 48, with 15 years on the force, nudges his younger partner when Tanya exits her vehicle. "Look at that. Brand new Mercedes, designer everything. No way she affords that legally." Brady's eyes narrow with suspicion. Reynolds, 29, shifts uncomfortably. "Maybe she's successful?" "Yeah, right," Brady snorts. "These people always have an angle." In Brady's mind, a slideshow of previous stops flickers. Minorities in nice cars, complaints filed, his captain burying the paperwork. Easy pattern, reliable results. Tanya checks her watch 15 minutes until dismissal. She slides back into her car to review presentation notes. Her phone rings with a call from her pharmaceutical team about their pending FDA approval. Brady watches her, decision made. "Let's run her plates." Reynolds complies. Clean. Not even a parking ticket. That's how they stay under the radar. "I'm going to check it out." As Brady approaches Tanya's window, his hand brushes his body camera, deliberately turning off the recording light. Brady's knuckles rap against Tanya's window with unnecessary force. She startles, phone still against her ear. "I need to go." "Emergency," she tells her colleague, ending the FDA approval call. She lowers the window with a practiced smile. "Officer? Is something wrong?" "License and registration." Brady's tone lacks any greeting or explanation. "May I ask why?" "I'm legally parked in the pickup zone." "License and registration," Brady repeats louder. Parents turn to watch. Now, Tanya reaches slowly for her purse. "I'm just here to pick up my daughter, officer." "That's what everyone says." Brady's gaze sweeps over her vehicle's interior. "License and registration, third time asking." Tanya hands over her documents with steady hands. Brady studies her license with exaggerated scrutiny. "Tanya Williams?" He deliberately mispronounces her name. "It's Tahnya," she corrects quietly. Reynolds stands uncomfortably behind his partner, eyes darting between them and the gathering audience of parents. "What brings you to this neighborhood, miss?" "Williams?" Brady asks loudly enough for others to hear. "My daughter attends school here. I'm here for pickup, as I mentioned." "This car registered to you?" "Yes, I purchased it 3 months ago." Brady raises his eyebrows dramatically. "Must be nice." "What did you say you do again?" "I'm Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs at Pharmatech." "Sure," Brady sneers. "And I'm the president." A teacher approaches, concerned, but Brady waves her off with aggressive authority. She retreats, eyes wide. Tanya notices a mother from PTA meetings quietly position her phone to record what's happening. "Step out of the vehicle." Brady's hand rests on his holster. His stance widens, a peacock display of authority. "Officer, I've complied with everything you've asked. What is this about? Tanya keeps her voice level despite her racing heart. I said step out. I smell something suspicious. Reynolds shifts his weight, eyes darting between his partner and the growing crowd. Brady, maybe we should... When I want your opinion, rookie, I'll ask for it. Brady cuts him off. Tanya unbuckles her seatbelt and steps out with dignity, aware of the parents watching. Her charcoal pencil skirt and blazer, the armor of corporate America, now feel like stage costume under their stares. Hands where I can see them. Turn around. Brady's orders come rapid fire. My daughter will be out any minute. Tanya glances toward the school doors. Face away from me. Hands on the car. When she complies, he adds, Now kneel. Excuse me? You heard me. On your knees. The asphalt burns through her stockings as Tanya kneels. Brady begins rummaging through her vehicle without consent, tossing items onto the ground. Her presentation folders, her planner, her lunch, her pharmaceutical samples, small boxes of FDA-approved medications with her company's logo tumble out of her briefcase as Brady upends it. What do we have here? Brady holds up the medication samples. Prescription drugs without prescription labels. Those are pharmaceutical samples for doctors. I'm presenting them to physicians tomorrow. My ID is in my purse. Brady kicks her purse, sending her wallet, keys, and company ID skidding across the pavement. Convenient story. The school doors open. Children pour out. Tanya's 8-year-old daughter Amara freezes at the sight of her mother kneeling on the ground. Their eyes lock. Tanya's pleading for her to stay back, Amara's wide with fear and confusion. Reynolds finally speaks up. Brady, there are kids here. Maybe we should... This is exactly where drug enforcement should happen, Brady interrupts. Before it reaches these kids. As Brady reaches for his handcuffs, something in Tanya's expression shifts from humiliation to steel-cold resolve. Tanya watches her daughter being ushered back inside by a teacher. The woman's concerned glance meets Tanya's an apologetic look that does nothing to ease the knot in her chest. Something hardens in Tanya's core. Not fear, not even anger. Something colder, more calculated, more dangerous. Brady snaps handcuffs onto her wrists, tight enough to bite into her skin. Tanya Williams, you're under arrest for possession of controlled substances with intent to distribute. Those are legal samples, as my company ID clearly shows. Save it for the judge. Brady yanks her to her feet. Though they never believe... He stops mid-sentence, noticing Tanya's watch for the first time. Not a fashion accessory like her other jewelry, but a matte black military-grade smartwatch. Something about it gives him pause. Tanya uses his momentary distraction to press a specific sequence of buttons on the watch face with her thumb. Reynolds searches her purse, methodically rather than destructively. He finds her military family ID card tucked in a side pocket. His eyes widen slightly, but he silently slips it back without showing Brady. Nothing else here, Reynolds reports, returning the purse to Tanya's vehicle. Brady marches Tanya toward the patrol car as parents stare and whisper. She walks with her head high, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her broken. I'd like to make my phone call, she says as they reach the car. Brady laughs. You'll get one at the station, if we get around to it. Reynolds opens the back door, meeting Tanya's eyes briefly. I'll secure her personal effects, he tells Brady, who nods dismissively while radioing dispatch. Reynolds returns to Tanya's car, collects her phone, and brings it to the patrol car. When Brady turns to speak with a concerned parent, Reynolds quietly slips the phone into Tanya's cuffed hands. 1 minute, he whispers. That's all I can give you. In the back seat, Tanya manages a brief coded call. Protocol Zulu. School grounds. Active situation. The voice that answers is deep, calm, and terrifying in its quietness. Confirmed. 20 minutes. Across town, Colonel James Williams, 58, stands in his home office. Photos of his Special Forces teams line the walls alongside pictures of Tanya growing up and recent shots of his granddaughter. His medals and honors remain in drawers, unseen. He changes from casual clothes into a simple black polo that somehow makes him look more imposing. He doesn't rush, doesn't panic, just moves with deadly precision. As the colonel takes his car keys, his phone lights up with 7 messages from former Delta Force operators en route. Brady chooses the main entrance of the police station rather than the back. He parades Tanya through the busy bullpen, past rows of desks where officers look up from their work. "Got a live one," he announces, steering Tanya by her elbow. "Dealing prescription drugs at Westlake Academy." Officers stare. Some shake their heads. Others return to their work, uninterested in Brady's latest catch. Captain Griffith emerges from his office, coffee mug in hand. "What's the commotion, Brady?" "Drug bust, sir. Caught her with unmarked prescription meds at the elementary school." Brady stands taller. "She was about to distribute when we intercepted." Griffith studies Tanya, her professional attire, her calm demeanor. His eyes narrow. "Evidence?" "In the car. Reynolds is logging it now." Brady tightens his grip on Tanya's arm. "Going to interview her." "I'd like to make my phone call," Tanya says. Her voice carries across the room, steady and clear. Brady ignores her, pushing her toward interrogation. Griffith raises an eyebrow but returns to his office with a tired sigh. In the stark interrogation room, Brady roughly seats Tanya at the metal table. "Sit tight. Think about how much trouble you're in." The door closes. Tanya sits alone, eyes fixed on the clock above the one-way mirror. She notices the camera in the corner and adjusts her position to face it directly. 6 minutes later, Brady returns without Reynolds. No notebook, no recording device. He doesn't read her rights. "So," he leans across the table, "let's talk about your little side business." Tanya looks directly into the camera. "I wish to make my phone call and speak to my attorney." Brady follows her gaze to the camera, then reaches up and adjusts it away from them. Camera's been glitchy all week. He slams his hand onto the metal table. "You'll speak when I say you can speak." He circles behind her like a shark. "Child Services will be interested to know how Mommy funds her lifestyle. How long before they determine you're an unfit mother?" Tanya's expression doesn't change, but her eyes track the minute hand of the clock. Outside the station, a black SUV parks directly in the fire lane, and Colonel Williams steps out with 2 men carrying briefcases. The front desk officer looks up as 3 men enter the station. 2 wear tailored suits with subtle American flag pins. The third, older, with military short gray hair and ramrod posture, wears a black polo that somehow looks more formal than their suits. "May I help you?" The desk sergeant's voice shifts from boredom to attention, responding instinctively to the lead man's presence. "Colonel James Williams." His voice is quiet but carries. No hand extended, no smile offered. "My daughter, Tanya Williams, was brought in approximately 17 minutes ago. I'm here to see her." The desk sergeant checks his computer. "She's being processed. No visitors during initial—" "She hasn't been processed," the man to Williams' left interrupts. "I'm Martin Carter, civil rights attorney. Miss Williams hasn't been read her rights, hasn't received her phone call, and is being interrogated without counsel present." The second man places a business card on the desk. "Trevor Harrison, Judge Advocate General's Corps. We have reason to believe Miss Williams is being detained without probable cause." The desk sergeant begins reciting procedure until Colonel Williams slides over his military ID alongside a civilian government security clearance, so high the sergeant's eyes widen. "Additionally," Williams says calmly, "State Attorney General Robertson is a personal friend. I'd rather not involve her on a Saturday." Meanwhile, Captain Griffith reviews the arrest report in his office. The details don't align. He pulls up Brady's body camera footage, or tries to. The system shows it stopped recording 20 minutes before the arrest. He calls Reynolds into his office. The younger officer enters, tension visible in his shoulders. "Reynolds," Griffith begins, "tell me what actually happened at that school." Reynolds stares at his hands. "Sir, there was no probable cause. Brady saw an African-American woman in an expensive car and decided she couldn't have gotten it legally." Griffith curses under his breath. "And you didn't stop him?" "I tried, sir." "Not hard enough." Reynolds looks up. "Brady has a history. Everyone knows it, but nobody does anything about it." In the interrogation room, Brady grows increasingly frustrated with Tanya's composed silence. "You think you're smart? Playing it cool?" He leans closer. "A weekend in lockup might loosen your tongue. How's your kid going to manage without mommy for a few days?" Tanya finally speaks. "How long have you been targeting minorities, Officer Brady?" Brady blinks, thrown by the directness of her question. "Watch your mouth." The door opens. Captain Griffith stands there, expression grim. "Brady, my office. Now. I'm in the middle of an interrogation." "Now," Griffith repeats. "Miss." William's father is here. "With lawyers." Brady scoffs. "Daddy can't help her. We caught her red-handed." "Actually," Captain Griffith says, checking a message on his phone, "the chief of police just pulled into the parking lot." Chief Peterson strides into the station, uniform pressed, face serious. The desk sergeant stands straighter. Officers lower their voices. Brady watches from Griffith's office window, confusion creasing his brow. "What's the chief doing here on a Saturday?" Brady whispers. Griffith doesn't answer, eyes fixed on the lobby below. Chief Peterson approaches Colonel Williams with extended hand. "James, been a while." "Too long, Michael." Williams' handshake is firm. "Wish it were under better circumstances." They speak quietly about mutual acquaintances, operations in classified locations, people who owe them favors. Nothing explicitly stated, everything implied. "Your daughter?" Chief Peterson asks. "My daughter," Williams confirms. "Senior pharmaceutical executive, mother of my only grandchild." "The arresting officer?" "Brady has a record of complaints, all buried." Chief Peterson nods once. "Not anymore." Upstairs, Brady paces like a caged animal. "This is ridiculous. Since when does the chief come in for a routine drug bust?" Griffith studies Brady across his desk. "Sit down." Brady sits reluctantly. "What's going on?" "Internal Affairs is interviewing Reynolds right now." "What? Why? The rookie barely did anything." "Exactly," Griffith says. "That's becoming clear." In a separate room, Reynolds sits across from two IA officers, describing previous incidents, traffic stops targeting minorities, evidence planted, complaints ignored. "Why come forward now?" an investigator asks. Reynolds stares at his hands. "Because today I helped humiliate an innocent mother in front of her child's school." Meanwhile, Tanya remains composed in the interrogation room. The door opens, revealing a tall man in an expensive suit. "Miss Williams, I'm Martin Carter, civil rights attorney. 7 witnesses have provided video evidence contradicting Officer Brady's claims." "Thank you," Tanya says simply. "My daughter?" "Your father has arranged for her to be picked up by your neighbor." "She's safe." In Griffith's office, Brady continues defending himself. "She fits the profile of—" Chief Peterson enters without knocking. "Of what exactly? A pharmaceutical executive picking up her child? Or just a black woman in an expensive car?" Brady stands. "Chief, I was following procedure for suspicious—" "Sit. Down." Chief Peterson's voice cuts like a blade. Outside the station, 3 news vans pull up. Reporters position themselves for live shots. One headline already reads, "Police harassment allegation at elite private school." As Brady tries to justify himself, Chief Peterson slides a folder across the desk. "Do you know who Colonel James Williams is?" The conference room transforms into a command center with Colonel Williams at its head. Chief Peterson sits to his right, Captain Griffith to his left. Legal pads, evidence folders, and coffee cups cover the table. On a monitor, witness videos play silently. 33 years of service, Chief Peterson explains to Griffith. Special Forces. Delta Force commander for 12 of those years. 3 presidential citations, most classified. Williams doesn't react to the praise. His focus remains on the evidence before him. Colonel Williams led the operation that rescued those hostages in Somalia in 2013, Peterson continues, the one that officially never happened. Griffith nods slowly, understanding dawning. You were military intelligence before becoming chief. We served together briefly, Peterson confirms. Different units, same hellhole. Williams taps the table, redirecting attention. The officer. Brady. This isn't his first incident. No, sir. Griffith slides over a folder. Multiple complaints, never substantiated. Because they weren't investigated, Williams corrects, not looking up from the file. Different from unsubstantiated. On the table, Williams places a small black device. He presses a button, and crystal-clear audio plays every word of Brady's interaction with Tanya, including him turning off his camera. My daughter's watch, Williams explains. Military-grade prototype her pharmaceutical company is testing for their security division. Chief Peterson leans forward. That's admissible? Perfectly legal, the JAG lawyer confirms. Single-party consent state. And the civilian recordings provide corroboration. The door opens. Tanya enters, composed despite her ordeal. Williams stands immediately, embracing his daughter with surprising gentleness for such a formidable man. They took me from Amara, she says quietly. Williams nods once. It won't happen again. The civil rights attorney spreads documents across the table. We've compiled evidence of Officer Brady's pattern of racial profiling. 17 incidents in the past year alone, all involving minorities in vehicles above their perceived economic status. Officer Reynolds has provided a sworn statement, Griffith adds, about today and previous incidents. Chief Peterson studies the evidence, jaw tight. Captain Griffith, please bring Officer Brady in. Brady enters minutes later, confidence visibly shaken by the assembly before him. His eyes dart from face to face before settling on Williams. Something about the older man makes Brady stand straighter, an instinctive response to authority far beyond his comprehension. Officer Brady, Chief Peterson begins. Meet Colonel James Williams, one of the most decorated Delta Force commanders in U.S. history, former counterterrorism advisor to 3 presidents, and father of the woman you detained today. Brady's face drains of color. His mouth opens, but no sound emerges. Williams doesn't threaten or raise his voice. He simply looks at Brady with eyes that have witnessed more violence than the officer can imagine, yet remain utterly controlled. My daughter was humiliated while collecting my granddaughter from school, Williams states. You violated her civil rights, abused your authority, and demonstrated a pattern of behavior unbecoming an officer. Brady finds his voice. Sir, I was just following. Don't, Williams interrupts softly. You weren't following anything except your own prejudice. The civil rights attorney steps forward. Our team will ensure a full investigation into your conduct throughout your career, Officer Brady. A knock at the door reveals an elegant woman in a designer suit, flanked by 2 men carrying leather portfolios. Elizabeth Park, CEO of Pharmatech, Griffith whispers to Chief Peterson. Tanya, the CEO approaches. The company's full legal resources are at your disposal. The board is unanimous. Outside, more news vans arrive. A police spokesperson attempts to manage the growing media presence. Brady's world collapses around him as he realizes the full magnitude of his mistake. These aren't powerless victims he can intimidate. These are people with the influence, resources, and determination to destroy him. As the implications sink in, Brady's phone buzzes with a text from his union representative. "Don't say another word." This has gone national. The headline dominates every local news channel by morning. Police officer accused of racially profiling pharmaceutical executive. Tanya's professional headshot appears beside grainy cell phone footage of her kneeling in the school parking lot. The contrast between her dignity in the photo and her humiliation in the video creates a visceral public reaction. Before the markets open, Pharmatech's communications team works through the night to craft a powerful statement. CEO Elizabeth Park personally reviews every word. Pharmatech stands unequivocally with our Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs, Tanya Williams, following her unwarranted detention. The company condemns the discriminatory treatment Ms. Williams endured and announces a comprehensive examination of police interactions with minorities in all communities where we operate. We believe in equality under the law and will leverage our resources to ensure it. The statement sends ripples through both corporate and law enforcement circles. Pharmatech, with its billions in market capitalization and thousands of employees nationwide, wields significant influence. Their stock opens slightly higher. Investors appreciate decisive leadership in crisis. Financial analysts note that companies taking strong social justice stances often outperform more cautious competitors. Colonel Williams activates his network with military precision. No threats, no grandstanding, just short, purposeful calls to former colleagues now positioned throughout government, media, and corporate leadership. Each conversation follows the same pattern: brief acknowledgement of shared history, concise description of the incident, and a simple request. "Not asking for favors," he tells each one. "Just asking for attention to a systemic issue that happened to affect my family this time." His approach proves devastatingly effective. By noon, the state's attorney general announces a review of all Brady's arrests over the past 5 years. By evening, 3 neighboring police departments announce internal audits of their own complaint procedures. The police union issues a carefully worded statement about supporting officers while holding them accountable to the highest standards. Inside police headquarters, Internal Affairs commandeers a conference room. Walls soon covered with complaint files previously marked resolved without investigation. The pattern emerges clearly: minorities in nice vehicles, confrontational escalation, charges that get dropped after damage is done. In each case, the person's dignity and reputation suffer lasting damage while Brady moves to his next target. Captain Griffith sits alone in his office, reviewing video from Tanya's interrogation, watching Brady adjust the camera away before threatening her. The evidence of deliberate misconduct sickens him. He makes a decision that will define the remainder of his career, picking up his phone to call the Oversight Committee directly. Reynolds sits for his 3rd interview of the day, voice hoarse but determined. The weight of his silence lifts with each revelation. "Why didn't you report these incidents before?" an investigator asks. "The blue wall," Reynolds answers. "My father was police. My grandfather, too. You don't cross that line." He looks up, eyes clear. "But watching what happened to Miss Williams, seeing her daughter's face, I couldn't stay silent anymore." "And the department culture?" "Officers who report misconduct find themselves without backup on dangerous calls. Reports disappear. Complainants get intimidated into dropping charges." Reynolds's hands tighten. "But that can't matter more than doing what's right." Across town, Tanya sits with Amara at their kitchen table. Colonel Williams brews coffee as they have a careful conversation with the 8-year-old. The morning sunlight streams through windows, creating a sense of safety that contrasts with yesterday's trauma. "Why did the police make you kneel, Mom?" Amara asks, eyes wide with confusion. Tanya chooses her words precisely. "Sometimes people make wrong assumptions based on how others look. The officer assumed something incorrect about me. Because you're black? Amara's directness reflects her age, both innocent and piercing. Tanya nods. Yes, sweetheart. But what's important is how we respond when treated unfairly. Were you scared? I was, Tanya admits. But I remembered something important that Grandpa taught me. Colonel Williams places 3 mugs on the table, taking a seat beside his granddaughter. In the military, I learned something important. Dignity under pressure. What's dignity? Amara asks, wrapping small hands around her hot chocolate. It means knowing your worth, he explains, even when others don't see it. Tanya squeezes her daughter's hand. And it means standing up properly, not just for yourself, but for others who might face the same treatment. Amara considers this. So you're going to help other people the police were mean to? We are, Tanya confirms. All of us together. That afternoon, Pharmatech's CEO meets with Tanya and a team of corporate strategists. The company announces a 3-point initiative that expands their influence beyond pharmaceuticals into social justice. First, legal support for Tanya and policy advocacy for police reform. Second, funding for police body cameras and de-escalation training in communities where their employees live. Third, establishing a corporate coalition to address systemic bias in law enforcement through measurable outcomes and transparency. This isn't charity, CEO Park tells the board during an emergency session. It's ensuring our employees can drive to work without fear. It's protecting our talent. It's living our values in ways that matter. The initiative's budget $8 million passes unanimously. Brady faces suspension without pay pending investigation. The police union initially provides legal representation, but gradually distances itself as video evidence becomes overwhelming. His previous victims, emboldened by media attention, come forward with similar stories. He told me I couldn't possibly afford my car legally, one man tells reporters outside headquarters. Suggested I was a drug dealer. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. The cameras capture his hospital ID, emphasizing the absurdity of Brady's assumptions. A woman in her 60s, elegant in a church hat, describes being made to stand in the rain while Brady searched her vehicle after a choir practice. He said my Cadillac seems suspicious in that neighborhood. I've lived there 40 years. Each testimony builds the case that Brady's actions weren't isolated incidents, but a pattern of targeted harassment. Chief Peterson calls a department-wide meeting. Officers fill the room, tension thick enough to touch. Some stare at Reynolds with open hostility. Others avoid looking at him entirely. Today we're having a difficult conversation about trust, Peterson begins. Trust with the communities we serve, trust within our ranks, and trust in our systems of accountability. He outlines immediate changes: body camera compliance audits, civilian review for all complaints, anti-bias training, and consequences for officers who fail to report misconduct. The thin blue line doesn't protect those who betray the badge, he concludes. It never should have. Captain Griffith meets with Colonel Williams and Tanya in a quiet coffee shop away from media attention. He places his badge on the table between them, not surrendering it, but acknowledging its weight and responsibility. I want to personally apologize, he says. Not just for Officer Brady's actions, but for a culture that allowed those actions to continue unchecked. Williams studies him. What will change, Captain? Everything that needs to. Griffith meets his gaze steadily. I failed as a leader. That stops today. As public pressure mounts, the mayor calls a press conference. Standing before a wall of microphones, she announces a special hearing on police conduct. We've invited Tanya Williams as our key witness, the mayor declares. This isn't just about one incident or one officer. It's about ensuring equal protection under the law for every citizen. As community leaders rally around the upcoming hearings, Brady receives notice of criminal charges for civil rights violations under color of law. The city council chambers overflow with attendees. Television news cameras line the back wall, red lights blinking like watchful eyes. Community activists sit alongside corporate representatives. Police leadership occupies one section, officers in another, creating visible divisions in the room. Brady enters with his attorney, face haggard from weeks of media scrutiny and sleepless nights. Gone is the swagger, the certainty of immunity. He avoids eye contact, staring at his hands as he takes his seat at the respondents' table. The disciplinary panel consists of 3 retired judges, 2 civilian oversight members, and 2 law enforcement representatives. Their expressions remain professionally neutral as the proceedings begin. Brady's attorney presents their defense first, emphasizing the difficult nature of policing, split-second decisions required in uncertain situations, suspicious circumstances that justified investigation. The arguments sound increasingly hollow as evidence mounts against his client. Officer Brady was following standard procedures for suspicious activity, his attorney argues. And what, specifically, was suspicious about Ms. Williams? Asks a retired judge. The attorney falters. The vehicle seemed out of place in that a Mercedes SUV at a private school where tuition exceeds $20,000 annually seemed out of place. The judge removes her glasses. Please continue. 4 of Brady's previous victims testify in succession, their stories following the same disturbing pattern. Minority drivers in nice cars, immediate suspicion, public humiliation, charges later dismissed, but damage already done. Dr. James Carter, a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, describes being forced to lie face down on the pavement during a traffic stop. Officer Brady said I couldn't possibly afford my car legally, suggested I was a drug dealer. I was still wearing my surgical scrubs from a 12-hour shift saving a child's leg. A retired teacher, Mrs. Eleanor Davis, elegant in a church hat, describes being made to stand in the rain while Brady searched her vehicle after a choir practice. He said my Cadillac seemed suspicious in that neighborhood. I've lived there 40 years and taught half the children on that block. Each testimony builds the case that Brady's actions weren't isolated incidents, but a pattern of targeted harassment, systematically aimed at minorities who appeared to defy his expectations of their economic status. Reynolds testifies next, voice steady despite the weighted stares of fellow officers. Some officers glare with open hostility, others avoid looking at him entirely. The physical embodiment of the blue wall becomes visible in this moment. Officer Brady targeted minorities in expensive vehicles as a matter of routine. Reynolds states clearly, "When I questioned these stops, he said, and I quote, 'They always have something to hide. Just keep looking until you find it.'" "And why didn't you report this behavior?" a panel member asks. Reynolds takes a deep breath. "Because the culture protected him." Reports disappeared from the system. Complainants were intimidated into dropping charges, and officers who spoke up found themselves without backup on dangerous calls. He straightens his shoulders. "I was wrong to remain silent. That silence made me complicit. The testimony creates visible unease among police leadership. Chief Peterson's expression remains stone-like, but his eyes never leave Reynolds, measuring the courage required for this testimony and recognizing what it will cost him. When Tanya takes the stand, the room falls completely silent. She wears a simple navy dress, professional yet approachable. No designer labels today, nothing to trigger the prejudice that initiated this chain of events. She describes the incident with clinical precision, neither dramatizing nor diminishing the experience. The video evidence plays alongside her testimony, her kneeling on burning asphalt, her pharmaceutical credentials scattered, her daughter watching in confusion and fear. "What happened to me wasn't unique," Tanya concludes. "What's unique is that I had resources to respond. I had a father with connections, a company with influence, witnesses with courage, and evidence that couldn't be ignored." She looks directly at the panel. "Most people who experience this kind of treatment have none of these advantages. I don't seek vengeance for myself. I seek accountability and change for everyone who hasn't had access to the resources and support I'm fortunate to have." The panel chair turns to Brady. Officer Brady, do you wish to make a statement before we deliberate? Brady rises slowly, ignoring his attorney's whispered caution. His face shows the collapse of certainty, the recognition of consequences long avoided. I believed I was doing my job, he says, voice barely audible. I've told myself that for years. I see now that I was wrong, not just about Miss Williams, but about many stops before her. He looks up. I can't change what I did, but I won't pretend it was right. The admission surprises everyone. Not enough for redemption, but perhaps the beginning of recognition, the first step toward something better than denial. Colonel Williams is the final witness. He appears in civilian clothes, nothing in his appearance announcing his military background. He doesn't speak of classified operations or elite training. Instead, he talks about raising a black daughter in America and his hopes for his granddaughter. I've led men into combat, faced enemies abroad, he says quietly. Yet my greatest fear has always been that I couldn't protect my daughter from prejudice at home. That fear became reality when she called me from the back of a police car. He speaks of Amara, his granddaughter, and her questions about why police officers would treat her mother poorly. She should never fear those sworn to protect her. No child should. The hearing concludes with the panel's unanimous decision. Brady's termination, recommendation for criminal charges, and most importantly, systemic reforms including independent review of complaints, revised training protocols, and community oversight. Reynolds receives disciplinary action for his previous silence, but is given the opportunity to help lead the department's reform efforts, a chance to transform his regret into positive change. This hearing isn't the end, the panel chair announces. It's the beginning of accountability that's long overdue. As Brady surrenders his badge and gun, news breaks that 5 neighboring police districts have scheduled similar accountability hearings. 6 months later, Tanya stands before a room of police cadets and veteran officers. Behind her, a presentation screen displays Pharmatech's new Police Accountability Initiative logo, an abstract design showing balance scales blended with a medical caduceus. De-escalation isn't just a buzzword, she explains, moving confidently before the group. It's a skill set requiring practice, feedback, and commitment, similar to the precision we demand in pharmaceutical development. The officers watch attentively as she demonstrates the mental health crisis simulation her company developed. No eye-rolling, no crossed arms, just focused engagement from a department now committed to meaningful change. This simulation places you in situations where the old responses would escalate conflict, Tanya continues, inviting a young officer to try the virtual reality headset. It measures your breathing, pulse rate, and stress indicators to show you exactly when your training falters and emotion takes over. Across town, Colonel Williams consults with State Police Academy leadership. His military experience translates perfectly to law enforcement training, emphasizing discipline and leadership without excessive force. The walls display the new training curriculum, the Williams Protocol now formally adopted statewide. Authority isn't proven by domination, he tells instructors gathered around a table covered with revised training manuals. Real authority comes from earned respect and proportional response. Your recruits need to understand that power exercised unjustly isn't strength, it's weakness. The Academy director nods, making notes. The Williams Protocol is already showing results in graduate performance evaluations. Complaints against rookie officers have decreased 60% in just 1 quarter. At Westlake Academy, Principal Garcia hosts monthly community dialogues where parents, students, and local officers meet as equals. Today's topic: building trust through transparency. The school auditorium, once the scene of Tanya's humiliation, has become a place of healing and progress. Tanya and Amara sit in the front row. The 9-year-old raises her hand confidently during the question period, no longer hesitant around authority figures. What happens now when police officers make mistakes? She asks, voice clear. the Community Relations Officer, a new position created after the incident, answers respectfully. We have civilian oversight committees who review body camera footage and complaints. We're accountable to the people we serve, just like your teachers are accountable to your parents. Officer Reynolds stands at the back in his new role as training liaison. Some colleagues still avoid him, calling him traitor under their breath. Others, especially younger officers and minorities, seek his mentorship, recognizing the courage required to break the code of silence. The hardest part wasn't speaking up, he tells a rookie who approaches him after the meeting. It was knowing I waited too long to do it. The police union initially resisted changes, but public pressure and leadership from Chief Peterson prevailed. Now they highlight reformed officers in their communications, showcasing a commitment to professional standards that protects good officers from association with those who abuse their authority. Brady's case study appears in ethics training across the state. Not portrayed simply as a villain, but as a cautionary example of how unchecked bias escalates to misconduct, destroying careers and endangering communities. His actions serve as a teaching tool for identifying early warning signs in officer behavior. The statistics speak for themselves. Complaints against officers decreased by 43% in districts implementing the reforms. Body camera compliance reaches 100%, with footage regularly reviewed by civilian committees. Traffic stops show no racial disparities for the first time in department history. Pharmatech's initiative spreads to other corporations as CEO Park presents their model at business leadership conferences nationwide. CEOs recognize that employee safety extends beyond office walls to include interactions with authority figures. The business case for police reform becomes as compelling as the moral one. When our employees face discrimination, Park tells a gathering of Fortune 500 executives, it affects productivity, retention, and ultimately our bottom line. This isn't charity, it's sound business practice. Governor's data shows neighboring communities adopting elements of what media now calls the Williams Protocol, named not for the colonel's military background, but for his daughter's courage in speaking truth to power. What began as one family's response to injustice has grown into a model for systemic change. As positive changes spread throughout the state, a bipartisan police reform bill incorporates key elements of the Williams Protocol at the national level. 1 year later, Tanya pulls into Westlake Academy's parking lot in her Mercedes SUV. The same location where her humiliation began now feels transformed, renewed by purpose and progress. Parents of all backgrounds chat comfortably as they wait for their children, the atmosphere relaxed and welcoming. Officer Diaz, the community police officer, greets her with a respectful nod. "Good afternoon, Miss Williams. Looking forward to Amara's presentation today." "She's been practicing all week," Tanya replies, no tension in her voice. This is normal, now respectful interaction rather than suspicion. The weight of constantly preparing for potential confrontation has lifted from her shoulders. "Your father joining us?" Diaz asks, helping her carry a science display board from her trunk. "He wouldn't miss it. He's parking now." Tanya smiles, watching her father's car pull into a nearby space. Colonel Williams approaches minutes later, carrying a small science project box. His posture remains military straight, but his expression is grandfatherly proud and slightly nervous for his granddaughter's presentation. He exchanges a professional nod with Officer Diaz, neither overly familiar nor distant, just mutually respectful citizens acknowledging each other's role in the community. Inside the school auditorium, changes are subtle but significant. A framed photo shows Tanya receiving the Chamber of Commerce's Community Leadership Award. A newspaper clipping mentions the Williams Protocol's adoption by police departments nationwide. The school's new Diversity Committee mission statement hangs prominently by the entrance. Principal Garcia, once cold toward Tanya, now introduces her as the parent coordinator for the school's Community Relations Committee. No excessive apologies or overcorrection, just genuine inclusion and acknowledgement of her contributions. Miss Williams has helped us create meaningful dialogue between our school community and local law enforcement, Garcia announces. Her work has made this a safer, more welcoming environment for all families. Parents of all backgrounds fill the auditorium for Science Day presentations. No segregated seating, no uncomfortable glances. The atmosphere feels genuinely collegial. What should have been normal all along finally becoming reality through deliberate effort. Amara takes the stage confidently, her pharmaceutical development project displayed on the screen behind her. She explains how medications move from laboratory to pharmacy, inspired by her mother's work and presented with her grandfather's precision. My mom helps make sure medicines are safe before people can use them, she explains with 9-year-old clarity. She makes sure companies follow the rules so people don't get hurt. It's kind of like what police officers are supposed to do, protect people by following rules. Several officers in attendance nod in agreement, recognizing the wisdom in the child's simple comparison. During the question period, a student asks Amara about standing up when things aren't fair. My mom and grandpa taught me something important, Amara answers without referencing the incident directly. My mom says true power isn't about forcing others down but lifting everyone up. And my grandpa says courage isn't about not being afraid, it's about doing what's right even when you are afraid. As the presentations conclude, Tanya notices Officer Reynolds, now a community liaison officer, speaking with a group of students about Career Day. Their eyes meet across the room, and they exchange respectful nods, acknowledging how far things have come. Not friends, perhaps, but allies in a better system. In the parking lot, Tanya, Amara, and Colonel Williams walk to their cars together, 3 generations discussing their day, making dinner plans, debating ice cream flavors. Normal family moments that once seemed threatened now feel secure again. Did you see Officer Diaz's new body camera? Amara asks, skipping between them. He showed us how it works in safety class. It turns on automatically when they answer calls. Good technology with good training makes everyone safer, Colonel Williams remarks, helping Amara into the car. But the most important change isn't the equipment. It's the accountability, Tanya finishes his thought. As they drive home, they pass a billboard for the police department's new recruitment campaign. Serve with integrity. Protect with respect. Not revolutionary words, but now backed by revolutionary changes in policy and practice. Tanya catches her father's eye in the rearview mirror. No words needed between them, just the shared understanding of a battle fought and won, not just for themselves but for their community. The trauma remains part of their story, but no longer defines it. That evening, as Amara works on homework, Tanya receives an email notification. The state legislature has unanimously passed the Williams Protocol Act, mandating the reforms they helped pioneer. What began as a response to humiliation has transformed into lasting change. Colonel Williams reads the news over her shoulder. You did this, he says quietly. We did this, she corrects him. All of us together. Outside, the neighborhood feels different, not because it has changed, but because the relationship between its citizens and those sworn to protect them has evolved toward what it always should have been: mutual respect built on accountability. True authority isn't measured by how much power you wield, but by how you use that power to protect the vulnerable. Did this story of justice and transformation move you? Hit like if you felt the satisfaction when Colonel Williams walked into that police station. Subscribe to Beat Stories for more powerful narratives of everyday people standing up to injustice and winning. We deliver the most satisfying revenge stories where the underdog rises up against those who abuse their power. New videos every week featuring stories that will make your heart race and leave you cheering for justice. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next viral story of redemption and accountability. Our community is growing. Join us to witness more moments where justice is finally served. Remember, when power meets accountability, true change begins. Beat Stories brings you these moments of triumph every single week.
You've seen the story. Now what will you do with it? At Beat Stories, we believe reflection is good, but action is better. Subscribe, share, speak, because awareness is only the first step.